do I feel safe here? Do I feel accepted here?
So how do you explain that to your manager, right?
The person you're reporting to needs to be accessible.
Someone was recently talking to me about how their workspace has what they call compassionate curiosity.
No, I feel that to perform well, people need to be, completely clued in on how they're feeling. If you're not up to it, you're possibly not going to do well at a workplace. And I think it needs to have good cultural muscle to be able to allow people to be able to be themselves, and yet allow for them to break down as well at some point.
Yeah, and you spend such a significant amount of your life at your workplace. That's like 8 to 10 hours a day sometimes, or more than that. And what if it's a place I don't want to show up at, and like showing up is a little uncomfortable, and like, it's just not great.
Yeah, and just like how people appear in all shapes and sizes, mental well-being is also a spectrum. So not everybody's best can look the same every day.
No, one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
one size can.
Yeah.
And when I think people are defining policy for mental health at workplaces, it needs to be fluid to include various things. It could be how you're feeling on a particular day, to how you feel about people not respecting gender in that case as well, because it kind of adversely affects everything as well. And if people are not mindful, and if the organization is not empathetic to things that are happening around you, it's sad, because then you're not able to fully either cultivate your own skill sets and harness them, or do justice to the job that is at hand, despite the fact that you might be good at it, right? There are days when you're not good at it as well.
Then what does it take? Like, I don't know. One thing that was standing out for me was just radical inclusion that you have to then practice, because you
No,
have to account
absolutely.
for everybody, and you can't have like a one set of rules or like policy that just fixes everything. It's just not. It's about actually creating an environment, and it takes everybody to do that. Like, can I show up? Okay, can I show up on my bad days? Can I show up on my great days? Like, and do I feel safe here? Do I feel accepted here? All of that accounts.
And the fact that I think you're expected to work at a particular pace for all 5 days of the week, which doesn't really work, and making space for the kind of capacity you may have, the kind of needs you may have on a day-to-day basis, like Sid's also talking about. The other thing I also admire in workspaces when they can do it is to take into account things that you can't see, like all the invisible forces that may, even if it's reading the news and being bogged down by the news on a particular day. Because I think especially to do something like this, you have to always center a lot of, you must sustain hope towards change, or you may not feel like that towards, you may not really keep in mind why you're working towards a particular goal, if it's especially a social goal or a societal goal. So how do you make space for how the world interacts with you and how you interact with the world on a day-to-day basis?
Not true, and I think also, to answer the how of it, what you possibly do is, there's so many times that, in previous workplaces for me, I walked in not feeling great, and nobody's bothered. The only thing that you were supposed to do is what you're supposed to do. Nobody would ask you what's going on with you, and just simple stuff like that helps. Creating spaces where these conversations can happen, and I think it has to be top down. The person you're reporting to needs to be accessible as well, to be able. How far can honesty really get you is important. You need to create a culture where that is appreciated. If I'm not up to it today, I'm not up to it today. I should be. I should feel not afraid, right? If you're cultivating fear, it's pointless as well. And like what I was saying, if other factors are bogging you down, you should be at least given space to deal with it, and then come back and kind of do what you need to do.
Someone was recently talking to me about how their workspace has what they call compassionate curiosity, wherein they're moving away from the whole you're punished in some visible or invisible way for not doing what you're supposed to do, and if you miss deadlines, and if you're not able to show up on time, or whatever it is that's expected of you to do. and they, instead of asking why you're not doing it or how we can help you do it, they have a practice of cultivating a space where you can figure out what works best for you, but they're curious enough to know what works for you rather than how they can make you do what they want you to do.
Correct, no, absolutely. And I think that's where when performance appraisals happen, there's so much. You could have a bad month and you're kind of just going downhill from there, and you need to be able to understand what triggered that. And I mean, I think that solves for so much of this invisible thing that is going on with people. And I think if a workplace can allow for that, it'll be amazing.
Yeah, especially for small workspaces where you need not templatize a performance.
No, of course, you don't need to. Like,
and it can happen case to case in individual.
Yeah.
But there's also moving away from the idea that like before somebody is an employee of an organization, they're also an individual. They're a human being at the core of it, and I think often that's sort of overlooked very readily. And like you're here, you're meant to do this. You show up right for it, no matter what is sort of happening. So, but it's still a collective effort. I think it's just not about policies and processes alone, but it's like you mentioned, a culture building exercise in itself, and it's something you have to be at it constantly and constantly relook and relearn.
More than policy, I think it's also behavior, because policy can only take you so far, and behavior will help with just the fact that if you are in my managerial position, how do you deal with the people that report to you? If you're as a part of a team, how much can you really go up to somebody and say that, listen, I treat you as an individual, I don't know what's going on with you before I kind of say, no, you're part of this and you need to get this done.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are things that kind of help, and I've seen that happen. I mean, I've tried to practice it because it allows people to be really truly themselves and fosters not only ability to have conversation, but also to see the larger picture and say, okay, if this person is not able to do it, I'll step in and do it for them, because that's how teamwork really works as well, right?
That also needs you to have, like, especially in managerial positions too. I think a lot of managers traditionally are older people who got a lot of parts of their life sorted out, and there lies a lot of privilege. And I think it's very hard to step out of the way in which you live your life, and the kind of help you're afforded at home, the kind of legitimacy you enjoy in life, and the seriousness people afford to you, and to be able to look beyond that and to meet people where they are and see what factors go into making their life truly their life and what they would need ultimately.
Yeah. My
Blanket.
brain just shut down.
Yeah.
Panicked.
Everyone wants to conclude.
And that happens. Sometimes your brain just wakes up and decides, today I will not. And so how do you explain that to your manager, right? And some of us are just cursed with low dopamine at birth. And again, how do you explain that to your managers? So, which is why we need to have spaces that are safe, that are inclusive, so that we can have conversations like this and say, hey, just today I'm just not feeling up for it. Is it okay if I do nothing and get back to this tomorrow? And a lot of the times it's okay, right? A lot of things can be put off until tomorrow. So that's exactly why we need spaces that are open, safe, and look out for your well-being.